Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I've got a guest who I'll bring on in just a moment. His name is Elijah. He's a student from our community who's studying the REPLENS system that we teach around here so often. We've got hundreds of interviews with successful students who are following the proven Amazon course strategies to build beautiful businesses. And today we meet Elijah, who started off his first full month selling 10,000, second full month, 20,000. He's in the middle of his third full month and he's on pace to do 30,000 this month, 10, 20, 30, seeing the pattern. And next month, he's expecting to do 50. That's pretty incredible. Like great profit margins as he shares today, following the system that we teach around here, which is wade in nice and slow. Don't take any big risks. Put money in the bank as you learn. It's not expensive. He shares today just a few $100s in, and his business was up and ramped up and start to put money in the bank, learning while he's earning, taking tiny risks, buying inventory a few units at a time, buying more as he needs it. He's going to talk about how he sources, what he sells, the whole show. This guy is an open book. He's never ran a business before, and he's super excited about Amazon. I take that back. He's never run an e-commerce business before. He's tried several other business models, and none of them quite compared to what he's experiencing now. And I'll let him share from his heart just the huge difference this business is making in his life. So, a very short introduction today. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoy this episode today, keep in mind we've got hundreds of interviews with successful students from our courses, our coaching, our content. Hey, one little thing before I turn you over to this interview. If you go to silentjimdotcom/book a call, squeeze all three words together, book a call. That allows you to book a call on our calendar. We'd love to have a talk with you about your business plans, where you are now, where you'd like to go. Over the past 20 years, we've helped 10,000 people on their e-commerce journey through our coaching program. We'd love to have a low pressure informational conversation with you. Just give us a call. Let's have a chat. You'll love the team that we're working with. My coaching director has been with me over 20 years. We do it the right way here. God bless you, business building warrior. Let's jump into today's interview. Enjoy. So, Elijah, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you on, my friend. Let's get into your
Yeah.
story. You ready?
Oh, yeah. I'm ready. So pretty much my journey started not too long ago on Amazon. Only been in it a few months. About 3.5 months is when I first started. But Amazon entered my life about 2 years prior to that. So it's funny, it's actually through my wife, and she's a recruiter for a living, so she's always connecting people. And she saw a post of one of her friends on Facebook, sent out a post and said, "Hey, my husband is looking for some helpers to, pack some things at his warehouse." And I didn't think anything of it. I work my full-time real estate job, and I get done in the evening around 4 or 5 p.m. And I don't do much with my evenings. I kind of, at that point in my life, I was sitting around and playing some video games and not really doing anything meaningful with my evenings. And so I figured, well, you know what, I'll go help out. They need a hand. And it sounded like they were really like short staffed with the demand that was at their warehouse. And come to find out, when I go there, they're packing groceries on groceries on groceries. They're pretty much a grocery wholesale, that does. When I joined them and started helping them out, they did only FBA. Now they do a little bit of FBM and more, branded bundles and things like that. So they're kind of diving into those waters. But they were doing about 10 million in revenue a year doing just groceries through FBA during like COVID and stuff. So they were crazy busy. They need the help. And I sit at a desk all day right here where I'm at right now, and I punch on my keyboard. So it's kind of nice to get out, go gab with other people, move my body a little bit. And one thing led to another. I packed, groceries for them, and I would ask questions. I didn't even know it was for Amazon at first. And eventually, a few weeks later, I found out it was. And I didn't really think anything of it. It didn't really hit me that, like, hey, what they're doing, you could maybe do if you ever wanted to. I just kind of helped out, didn't think anything of it. And fast forward about a year and a half, kept helping them out whenever I could. Some of my evenings are tied up with meeting new clients in the real estate business and whatnot. So whenever I had time, I would help out at the warehouse. But about a year and a half later, they switched their business model, and this was probably about 5 or 6 months ago now. They did a lot of more branded bundles, and they, slowed down on their inventory, but their margins were better, so they worked less, made about the same type of thing. So they
Mhm.
didn't need evening help is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
And so my packing groceries came to a halt, and here I am in the evenings going back to tooling around on video games and stuff. And in the back of my mind for a few months, I'm like, man, I kind of miss packing. I just miss the packing aspect of, packing groceries. So I kind of got an inkling. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to poke around on the internet and see what it would take to get started selling on Amazon, because I figure, well, maybe it doesn't take much. So I did my own research. I Googled and YouTubed and, watched a bunch of beginner videos on how to start up and what I needed and the costs and, got it all kind of outlined. And at the end of all my research, I found out that I could start my own business packing groceries or whatever I want to pack, that I'm approved to, obviously, for myself and make the money that I want to make. And, after all my research, it was about 500 to $1,000 all in for, I mean, everything from printer to packing tape to boxes. I got the business LLC set up, got a business bank account, and a lot of the things you do are very cheap or minimal in cost. The bigger expenses were just like the LLC was a couple $100, and those things were a little bit more expensive off the bat, but about 500, $800, and I was set up ready to go. And just like anyone else, I didn't really know what to really do. I looked up how to find my first product, and I joined your guys' group, and I found the group kind of off a whim. It was I was searching around online, and I think I was reading this article, and someone mentioned in the article that they joined this free Facebook group, and it's been a crazy good resource for them when they started. And so I joined that when I was in the investigator stage. And then when I actually started, I started posting in there, asking questions. Every time I did something cool, I'd post a screenshot of my revenue or whatever. And it's just been an amazing journey thus far. It's kind of like I told you before we started recording here. I felt like it all happened like for a reason, and it happened, it fell in my lap like it was meant to be. And I'm super excited at this point. I'm ready to do as much work that needs to be done over the next couple of years to ideally move to doing Amazon for kind of my primary gig. Right now, it's obviously like a side gig, but slowly but surely, I'm like opening my eyes, like, holy cow, there's no ceiling here. Like
Right.
you can scale and keep scaling, and there's nobody. I mean, some people might try and stop you. You're gonna run into roadblocks, but yeah, that's basically from A to Z, how I found out about Amazon, how I got to where I'm at. And now I've been selling for about, 3.5 months, and I'm loving every second of it. I'm waking up at like 5 a.m., getting on, doing some accounting, and I work 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours sometimes, Monday through Friday in my full-time job. So I'm, up till 2 a.m. multiple days a week, but it's like I don't need coffee. I don't need it because it's just pure like I'm so amped to be in this business, and I'm so excited about like the opportunity that we all have because I don't think there's anything else out there like it, like at all. So, but yeah, that's my story. That's how I got to where I'm at here.
That's
So,
awesome. I love it. Well, you mentioned offline that you've tried other businesses and you just kind of alluded to it a little bit there.
yep,
So before we dive into the rest of your Amazon story, what you're selling, how you're finding it, that kind of thing, how your business is going, I'd like
yeah,
to hear a little bit more about your business past. What are the businesses have you tried? Because you just
yeah,
contrasted this to some other experiences you've had, and you're
yeah,
not old enough to have decades of experience in anything really, but I mean, it
right,
sounds like you've tried a few things. So, what else have you been
yeah.
involved with?
So pretty much a lot of random stuff that I think everyone's dabbled in. I've when I was younger, I got pitched all the MLMs, all the Amways and, these random MLM companies. And I knew all of those are kind of a facade and, not a true business. But, other things I've dabbled in is, stocks and stock options, cryptocurrency, foreign exchange. Like I've done a lot of investing in things. And that's why I think Amazon resonated real well with me is because, when you buy a stock or you buy a cryptocurrency or you buy, something that has value that you're hoping to go up or maybe you're hoping to go down depending on how you're playing the deal. But you don't have much control over it, you know? You can
Right.
only do so much research about a company or about
Uh-huh.
a certain cryptocurrency project or whatever it might be. Whereas with Amazon, it's like they give you literally all the data you need. I mean, everyone who's selling it, how much they've sold, how much they've stocked, like all the data in the buy box price. They give you, all everything you could ask for to make a good educated guess on whether or not to buy that ASIN. That and to me, that was like game changing because
Yeah.
it's like black and white to me,
Yep.
whether it meets my criteria or it doesn't. Whereas like with stocks or cryptocurrency, there's a lot of gray area there. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of higher power that can make things move drastically without your research or anything playing a part.
Yeah.
And that's why Amazon's resonated so well with me. I've dabbled in all these different other investment opportunities. Right now I'm running my real estate business full time, and I love that business and I plan on, continuing down that path. But ideally in the future I want to have kind of like you preach, multiple streams of income that you're
Right.
making kind of online, and that's my whole goal is to have multiple lines, whether it be through real estate, through Amazon, maybe still dabble in stocks, and kind of spread myself wide and thin across multiple different opportunities. That's kind of my end goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've
Fantastic.
dabbled in all sorts of stuff. I've been in the restaurant industry when I was younger, and that was right when I got done through that. I'm like, yeah, I ain't going back to that. I want to work with my brain now, moving
Yeah.
forward. So, but yeah, just
I
a
love the
little bit of
contrast.
everything. Yeah,
Love the contrast between buying stocks and buying replens. I think people who have had, I kind of put people into two categories when they come into e-commerce and they come into our community. People who have tried to run other businesses in the past,
yeah,
and people who haven't done anything with that. This is their first adventure.
hmm,
And the people who have had businesses in their past, I'm always so excited for them to
yeah,
come in because they understand how difficult it is to turn a dollar into $2 in the real world. I think a lot of times people have a misconception like, oh, running a business means making money. Like, it's just that easy, right? No, like 95% of all businesses fail in the first 3 years. Like, it's
yeah.
very unusual to have something this stable, this, you called it black and white. That margin of risk is so thin
It
with
is, and
with the
the
replay
lessons.
system. You can
Sorry to
really,
cut
once
you
you're
off.
educated, no, it's just we're making the same point though, right? It's like
Yeah,
this is so much better than literally, and I've tried probably 25 other businesses in my life.
right.
There's nothing like this out there.
Yeah.
There just
Yeah,
isn't.
it's insane, and the kinda like you alluded to, the lessons you learn, you're
Mhm.
not losing well, I guess if you really make a bad mistake, you might lose thousands in this business, but
That's
that
if
I
you don't
mean,
follow our
you
system.
gotta be doing bad practice, right?
Yes.
Like, I've heard of people getting caught up doing bad practices like drop shipping and, the
Yes.
no-nos of the game, and, like, if you're doing those things and testing those waters, then you might
Yeah.
get bit, but if
Yeah.
you're treading water and treading lightly and making sure you're doing everything above board, you might get a smack on the wrist. You might buy a bad batch and lose. The biggest lesson I've learned was actually it was just a few days ago. I put in, I spent quite a bit of money on like pre Black Friday sales and things like that. Hence the boxes in the
Yeah.
background. And so I found this ASIN, I found the product on the actual brand's website, and I placed the order. I always kinda like to go back on what I bought and a couple days later, make sure it's still kinda doing good and, kinda audit what I bought. That way, if for some reason I made a mistake, I can maybe catch it and get it reversed and sent back or whatever. So I placed an order from a brand's website. Pretty hefty order. It was like 500, $600, 20, 30 units. And it's in the mail right now on the way here. And I looked at the ASIN doing my audit work on my buy sheet, and I go to look at the listing, and then I'm looking at the product, and I'm like, kind of like, wait, what? And I do a double take, and I'm like, dang, I didn't catch that. So it was this flashlight, and what I thought it was like the full size flashlight, but it was the mini flashlight that looked like the exact same thing,
Oh
the same
no.
size batteries,
Yeah.
the same pouch that came with it. And so, I caught it before it even got to me, and I'm working with the company, and sounds like they might charge a 20% restocking fee. But what I'm getting at here is the lessons you learn aren't like game changing.
Right.
They're just, they might set you back a tiny little baby step, and you learn a lot from that. Like now moving forward, I'm not only double checking my products, I'm going to be triple, quadruple checking,
Yeah.
making sure that everything lines up right so that so you would never want to sell a mini on a full size thing and then
Right.
have mad customers. I'm all about, I want to make money in this business, right? But at the end of the day, I want to provide value and good value to Amazon and the consumers buying on
Mhm.
Amazon. And so I don't, whether I can buy that flashlight, and heck, maybe I could sell 10 and not get complaints and make money, but, you know, the odds of that happening are slim, and you're probably going to get returns and complaints. And
Yeah, it's not worth the
um,
risk. Yeah, you
yeah,
want to
no,
you want to
it's,
sell the right product. Amazon, there's a few things that they'll let slide, and just
yeah,
about anything you can recover from. With thousands of students having taken our courses and content over the last 14 years for Amazon
hmm,
training,
yep,
we still have less than a handful, less than five permanent suspensions that I'm aware of. We've had a lot of people temporarily face
yeah,
some kind of consequence, however, that makes them uncomfortable. But permanent, not very often. But if you're intentionally selling the wrong product against the listing, that was one of the permanent bans that we saw actually. It's like, well, it's close enough. And they just sold a ton of it. And then Amazon came back like, hey, you've been selling the wrong product quite a bit here. And they shut them down.
yeah,
But yeah, you want to be super cautious about that. But you're right. For those who've listened to our podcast quite a bit would already know this lesson, but we encourage that inch deep, mile wide approach
yep,
when you're new, especially, meaning you never have more than a handful. I mean, you even said 20 or 30 units. I'm like, that's very rare that my first order for anything is more than, say, 3 to 5 units, just to
yeah,
get it out there, just to test and see if it's really as good as I thought, and see if it changes before I get the inventory. Okay, we'll take $1 or two hit a piece and we'll get rid of that stuff and check that ASIN again
right.
later. But yeah, we
Mhm.
test super thin and across multiple ASINs, and that is such a great way to run a business. And if you're talking about
Oh,
buying
yeah.
stocks, for example, like if you knew that you could exit any of these stocks back and get your money back, it's never going to go super negative on you because there's
Yeah,
no chance that's not even a feasible possibility. Your worst
exactly.
case is approximately break even. Your best case is 20, 30, 50, 80, 100% ROI, turning your
Mhm.
money over rapidly, right? We had a guy,
Right.
a real estate guy on our show not too long ago, Elijah. He's like, I've done real estate my whole life, decades of experience. I've never seen the ROI that you can get in real estate that I can get here, right?
Yeah,
It's just a matter of finding enough product. But once you know how, it really is everywhere. So even he was contrasting the two, and like he has a lot more fun flipping his money fast here than he does even in real estate right now.
yeah. No,
I was just
I
looking at
get
my house
that.
this morning. My house dropped. The value dropped in the last 60 days ridiculously. I'm like, what is going on? After
Yeah,
rocketing up and now it's just dropping. I'm like, people think there's stability in real estate. I mean, that's up and down. That's spikes and valleys too.
yeah. Yep, you can certainly lose lots of money in real estate too. Thankfully, I don't invest in real estate, and I'm not, well, not yet, and I'm not a real estate agent. So the basis of my real estate biz is we pretty much provide services to real estate agents.
Mm,
So me and my team, we work with a couple hundred agents here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, some in Florida, and we're just starting out in Ohio. So we do everything from writing their documents, their offers, their
okay,
representation contracts. We
gotcha.
facilitate all the signatures. We're corresponding with lenders and title companies. We're the man behind the desk who
Yeah,
is typing the contracts, doing
yeah.
everything
Like the
electronic.
inside sales team for real estate agents,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah,
right.
okay, that makes sense.
Exactly. They're
I
the
love it.
boots on the ground. We
Yeah,
make it so they can just prospect. So
sure.
their job is meeting new clients, showing homes unless they have
Okay.
a showing agent,
Yeah.
meeting sellers and but if they out with the buyer, they find a good home that the buyer wants to put an offer on, they don't have to run home and get to their
Mhm.
computer or rush to a Caribou and get out their
Sure.
laptop. They just pick up the phone, dial our hotline, and say, "Hey, Elijah, can you write
Yeah.
up this offer?" And we go
Oh,
through all the terms, and so they can be in the car, and it really maximizes their day. So that
sure.
instead of closing maybe 30 transactions, they're able to up it to 40, 50, 55.
Yeah.
So we really bring that value so that they have time back in their day to refocus.
That's
So
awesome,
I
man.
I love
Okay.
the area and real estate I'm in, and
Yeah.
I never want to stray away from that, but I would like to be less in the business, more on the business, and then also, heavily focused in Amazon because I'm pretty pumped about what's going on over here too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the Amazon thing is so flexible. It can fit in, like we say all the time on the show, it fits into the cracks of your schedule. It sounds like you're
oh
managing that
yeah,
beautifully so well with only 3.5 months in. But let's talk
yeah,
about some of your products and how it's going for you, man. Talk me through, how are you
yeah.
sourcing? What strategy are you using? Talk to me about the numbers to the degree that you're
Perfect.
comfortable and able.
So, sourcing wise, I do a little bit of everything. One thing that I'm trying to focus more heavily on right now is keep a product finder. I haven't, I've ran quite a few dozens of searches, but I want to really dive deep into the intricacies of the keep a product finder. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm using like five of the hundreds of functions that it
Right.
has. And so I really want to kind of learn more about that tool. But outside of that, a lot of I don't do a ton of storefront stocking. I did at first to figure out because I came from a background with no reselling. So I've never bought and sold anything for a profit up until July 27th was when I made like my first sale. So I didn't know what did good. I would hear things from other sellers, what they're kind of selling, and you hear of name brand stuff that sells good and is low BSR. But here I am, a guy I'm very frugal when it comes to money. So, like I don't buy clothes for myself. I don't go to stores and hit sales and, load up carts and find all the good deals. I kind of am a penny pincher. I save my money. And so it's a little bit difficult for me getting started, but storefront stocking helped me figure out like what is working for other people. That way I could go and try and find my own types of products in the same realm. So right now I sell anything from, personal care, beauty, clothing, grocery. Kind of tried it all and I want to keep trying new things. I'd like to get into some hazmat stuff eventually. I'm slowly FBMing my way to being able to do the FBA hazmat. And, I want to kind of try everything because just like trying Amazon, I'd rather try it and say, well, that's not for me, than not try it and find out that I lost out on a killer opportunity in a certain avenue within Amazon. So I'm kind of trying stuff still to this day. I set these mini goals for myself throughout my Amazon journey, and I try and do it in life too. But with Amazon, I've really stuck to it, and it's made a huge difference. So things like, about a month and a half ago, I never sold a shoe, and it was mainly because I heard bad things about shoe refunds and people buying them, wearing them, sending them back, and I've heard all these bad things, so I strayed away from them, right? But then I figured, well, let me give it a try because maybe someone else's experience is going to be different than mine. So I bought a few pairs of shoes, a few different variation sizes, and kind of tried a few out. Did a couple FBM, couple FBA, and my margins were great. My cost of good was high, so profit per unit was way up, and that's part of what I'm trying to do with my business is get my overall profit per unit up so that I can not have boxes like this in my one bedroom apartment. I'd like to eventually get a prep center and things like that. But for me right now, I want to make sure I have that 12, 13, 14, maybe even higher, 15 plus dollar per unit profit. So I can easily say, hey, take your couple bucks,
Right.
and maybe even more when you're doing great work for me. I'd love to be able to kick back my prep center and treat them well. But I
Yeah.
want to be able to do that with confidence and have that margin already there for me to kind of break off for them.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of different products on my storefront. I'm learning a lot of lessons while I try new things. But yeah, a lot of products, a lot of sourcing methods. And one thing that's really helped me is just getting out there and like with your community, it's been an insane game changer for me off the get-go. I had so many questions that to me were dumb questions, and to your group and you and everyone that's a part of the group, I mean, you can ask just about any question outside of, "Hey, what are some ASINs?" That's not a question you ask in the group. You don't wanna be one of those jokers, but even things to me that were dumb were like, "Hey, how do I know how much product to buy?" Or just questions that I knew were beginner level questions, and
Right.
I knew if I asked them in other groups or other, platforms, I'd get some flack and some, "Hey, you're a noob," and this, that, and the other thing,
Mhm.
but your group is so inviting. It's so big. There's so many great people in it. Everyone's encouraging. I mean, like, I've never posted in your group and gotten, like, a hateful comment or even, like, a negative comment. I mean, everyone's so positive, and I just love what you've built, and, this podcast that I'm on with you right now, it was one of the first things that I kinda found in my Amazon journey to help me figure out the ins and outs and workings of the day-to-day Amazon business, and you're talking to people from me who are only in the business 3.5 months to, I've watched you talk with some sellers doing a couple million branded bundles, multiple years in the biz, crazy like 70% ROI. And like, you got everyone from top to bottom. And I really like that because, there's something to learn. There is a saying that you bring into play a lot of times, like right education at the right time.
Yeah,
But I
just in
think
time
that,
learning. Yeah.
yeah, there's also a saying, but like for me, I like to get a little bit of the beginner seller, the high level seller who's been in it 3 years, because you're going to learn lessons from everyone.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a seller who's doing tons of sales and been in the business multiple years that are going to learn a thing or two from a brand new seller or maybe a mid-level seller been in it
That's
maybe a
so
year or
true.
so. But yeah, I've found very good value in your group, your community. I've tried to build my own close knit little group of people because obviously your group is so large and it's close knit, don't get me wrong, but you're not gonna have the day-to-day jumping in voice chat, video
Right.
chat
Yeah.
camaraderie. So I think
Mhm.
what's really important to do for all beginner sellers especially is to find your people, and it might only be one other guy or one other gal or maybe a couple. I'd recommend not having more than, like, 8 people. I mean, a handful is the
Mhm.
perfect number in my opinion, like
Yep.
4 or 5 people. I mean, I got a crew of guys, one of them is actually local, which is super cool. He's, 30 minutes away, and him and I are gonna get together, maybe do some retail arbitrage sometime and, talk shop and whatnot, but
That's excellent.
that's been one big piece to my business that I think without your group, without building my close-knit group and all of that, I mean, I wouldn't even be close to where I'm at now. I would
Yeah.
still be doing maybe $1,000 a week or whatever, but that's really catapulted me to be able to, kind of fast track things because I'm learning lessons through other people all the time without even having to make the mistake for myself.
Yes.
So I'll see posts in the group about, someone saying they got a section 3 and talking about how they got it and things like that, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I definitely probably shouldn't do what they are talking about what they did." They might have turned a six-pack into a three-pack and took out the wrapping, and you're supposed to have it on or whatever it might be, but you learn a lot of mistakes through other people in these groups and in your close-knit groups and things like that, so I think
Yeah.
that's a game changer, and it's been huge for me.
Well, it's
So,
been one of the biggest factors that we've identified in who makes it and who doesn't is The
Yeah.
people who intentionally pursue relationships
Yep.
tend to do significantly better. It's a statistically significant difference, and it's one of the few.
Yeah.
Because it's not intelligence, it's not education. I don't even think it's necessarily just pure determination
No.
that's the bigger factor. I think it's the intentional pursuit of relationships is a bigger factor than all of those,
Yeah.
because now you've got someone that you can bounce things off of. And I love and appreciate the fact that you said, this 74,000 person Facebook group, it's awesome, but it's not intimate. Yeah, and you need one of my favorite sayings, because as a Christian, we talk about discipleship and bringing someone along. Discipleship requires proximity, accountability,
Yeah.
relationship, right? It's those same kind of things. Business, the same way. You want to
Yeah.
be mentoring someone, which keeps you sharp, and you want to be
Yep.
mentored by someone, which keeps you from running
Exactly.
off the rails, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing both of those, you give yourself the best chance at truly succeeding or whatever you're doing. And it's almost without fail, Elijah, when I see people and they'll come and they say, well, Jim, I've kind of been quietly doing this for 6 or 7 years. Thanks for the great
Yeah.
content. It's changed my life, but it's starting to fall apart on me. And I'm having a hard time either getting motivated, building good systems, staying profitable, whatever.
Hmm.
I'm getting into trouble here. The first question I like to ask is like, okay, who's your people?
Right.
Where's your network?
Yep.
Inevitably, almost without exception, I'll say, I don't really have that. I never really did that. It's just kind of been me the whole time. You will hit that burnout phase of this business, of anything in life. I don't care if, like you mentioned before we start recording, your wife is a runner, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe your guy you're working out, or some kind of hobby you have, or a business you're trying to launch, or anything significant you're trying to do. If you're trying to do it alone, you can do it alone for a while.
Oh
But
yeah.
then you'll hit that burnout phase and you look around. There's no one to your left or to your right. There's no one behind you if you fall. If you fall on your face, you're gonna have to get yourself up. And you're like, none of us can sustain through that. It's just
No.
that's just it's not Jim saying it. It's in the Bible. It's how we're built. We're not made to be alone. You
Yeah.
need community. So when I see a young guy like you reaching out and intentionally forming a relationship early and building, and some of the things that we've done, I just want to mention a couple of resources. And I want to get back to your story because a
Yeah.
couple of things popped
Definitely.
in my head as you were talking. One
Yeah.
of them is you mentioned some of those advanced Keepa strategies. There's a course inside the Proven Amazon course. It's one of the
Hmm.
modules, Advanced Keepa strategies. Fantastic. If you haven't gone through that, you really need to. It talks about dozens. It's about a dozen ways to use Keepa successfully, including the data finder inside Keepa, which is just an amazing tool. We've
Right.
actually got a 2-day workshop that we did a few months ago. Huge success. Small group of people. I think we had about 20 people there. We're going to do it
Yeah.
again in the near future. Provenamazoncourse.com/100, 100. That's a live event where we just pound for 2 days on the Keepa tool and just teach you with
That's
a lot of
awesome.
intent focused exactly how to get in there, find what you need, and just get these amazing lists of test-worthy ASINs that you can pop
Yeah.
through and trying to find a source for. So that's one resource. The other one is I know you would very much benefit from being at the Proven conference in May. Do you have plans to attend yet? Do you know if that's something you'll be able to do?
I don't have plans to attend. Where's the conference located?
It's in Orlando this year,
Orlando.
May
Okay.
23rd through 25th. There'll be about last year we had about 650, 700 people there from the community, listeners to our podcast,
Yep.
and love to have you there.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually peek at my schedule right now. I
No,
know
in real time.
we
Well,
were
I'll make
we
it
were
even more.
actually just we were trying to plan a vacation with my family in May, but my wife and I have too much time off in May already. I think we have 2 or 3 weeks taken off. We travel and vacation and do all sorts of things when we can. So I don't know if I'll be able to make it. Do you guys do an online version as
We
well, like
do.
an
Yeah.
online recording? Okay.
There'll be well, we record the whole thing and there's a virtual experience as well. But as a thank you for being
Okay.
a guest on the show, if you guys can attend, the general admission tickets are on me. So just shoot me a text. You've got my number now, and then let me know if you guys can make it.
Hey,
Uh,
my wife loves traveling, so she might just be like, "Hey, we'll pop down
It's a
there."
fun resort, man. But you'd benefit greatly. But because we're talking about how do you build relationships, and that may be a
Yeah,
question people are asking, like, how'd you find these people? So I just want to make sure that Elijah, and the listeners know today, there's a handful of things you can do to intentionally form these relationships. One of them is just to get into our big Facebook group and do a
yeah,
search for some of the big cities near you and just
yep,
see where they've popped up in conversation. One of
yep,
the threads that we have is people saying, hey, here's the big cities near me. If anyone lives near these big cities, reach out. I'd like to form community and relationships. And, maybe there's already established groups in your area with 74,000 people.
right,
there's probably a few people that live near you in our community
Oh, yeah, I'm
that are doing
sure.
e-commerce, right? Or
Yeah,
even the thing I've been encouraging lately is even if they're not in e-commerce, if they're just a small business owner, there's small business associations, and because it's a very similar journey. It doesn't matter what the business is. Business is about turning a dollar into $2 and making sure your customers are happy along the way, right?
right.
That's what business is for everyone. And there's similar challenges in all business models,
Oh, yeah.
with personnel and team and leadership and hard decisions and putting your money at risk. How deep should I go? I don't know. So that outside vantage point sometimes is very valuable, um,
Oh, yeah,
to bring in. So yeah, you need a community, you need other people around you, and well, that's that. Yeah. So
definitely.
I just wanted to be sure I mentioned some of those resources for you. And another
Yeah,
one that's another way to build a great relationship is our coaching program, where you get
yeah,
assigned a one-on-one mentor that's going to walk with you on this journey. And it's someone who's built a beautiful business using the strategies we teach here.
right.
That relationship alone, just setting the content that you're going to learn aside, just having a relationship with someone that's a little further down the path than you are and has had success and has seen all the challenges you're about to encounter and overcome all of them, that's invaluable. So
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what the coaching program is all about. So there's just a few options for people to form some relationships. At our event as well, we put people into mastermind groups. If they're VIP
right.
attendee, you get formed a mastermind group, and that group actually meets at the event. Then on an ongoing basis, they continue to meet as well. And those have been very
Oh, that's
successful for us.
super cool. That's really cool.
That's how intentional we are about relationship. But we're not just about
Yeah.
give you the content you need when you need it. We focus a lot on relationship. I love like at our last event, Elijah, I had a group of people come up to me and they were talking. And I'm like, so do you guys know each other? Like, oh yeah, we've been meeting together as a group every Thursday for 4 years. I'm like, what? Like, I
Sweet.
know you and I know you, and I've seen your name. I don't know three or four of the rest of you, but you guys meet every week. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, that's
I
so
love
cool.
seeing those kind of organic groups that
Yeah,
are formed, right? And those friendships and people traveling together. It's just
yeah.
phenomenal. Great to be a
Yeah,
part of. So
you need a group of people, and
yes, you do.
it doesn't mean you have to go out and spend thousands of dollars to join some exclusive
No,
group that'll turn you into a $1 million seller within 6 months. Like,
no.
just organically find people that you relate to too, because
Mhm.
not every person's going to like another person, and certain people are going to jive, certain people aren't,
Right.
and so it might take a few times of trying to chat with someone or jump on a call or do
Yeah.
something, and it might not work out, but you got to keep trying, and you got to build a team of people around you, because it's the biggest value addition to this business outside of hard work, dedication, consistency, all of that. Without
Yes.
any of that, your business, if you join a group and you don't have any of those other things, obviously you're not going to go anywhere. So it's kind of this perfect concoction. But what I think of the networking and the just building a team of people and close individuals you can bounce ideas off of, even things like sharing a saying, hey, look at this Keepa chart, how does this look to you based on last year at this time? Blah, and point out things you see. They might say, "Hey, did you know that that's a two-pack listing?" And it's like so they catch things for
Another
you,
set of
and
eyeballs. Yep.
yeah, it's so valuable in this business. And I look at it kind of like back to the concoction. I look at it as like the secret ingredient that if you don't have it, it's not even going to come close to if you do have it. When you have that secret sauce, it's going to turn that dish into something amazing. And for me, that secret sauce has been a very, very key component to getting me where I'm at now. And it's going to continue being a key component to get me where I want to be in the future,
Yeah.
because I got goals in this business, and they're not going to happen without a group of people and other people to help teach me lessons and answer questions, and it's just not going to happen without that. So
Very good. Yeah, I love the plan you've put together. That I love the trajectory, and certainly the team that you're taking with you, the companions on the journey. That's going to pay big dividends for you. But I want to hear a little bit about
yeah,
your business. Let's talk about some of the numbers. I want to talk about
yeah.
specifically how you're finding your inventory. Like, what's your process for making decisions? So give us the numbers and give me some procedures if you don't mind. I want to pick apart your business a little bit.
basically, let me, because I don't know, my numbers are changing ever quickly. So let me pull up. I use Seller Board to track a lot of
Sure.
my numbers. So I started out, and like any other business, you have a lot of expenses up front, right? So when I
Course.
started in July, I had only sold for the last couple days of July, and I maybe did a couple $100 of sales, and I started the LLC and stuff. So my first month, I lost $416, it looks like, or no, 472 after all expenses and everything. But then the next month, I started figuring it out in August. I did just under 10,000 in revenue in my first full month in August, and I profited $10 over what I lost the previous month. So after my first pretty much 40 days, well, 35 days doing it, my first 5 days I was net negative 400, but then I did my first full month and I was net positive. So I was actually profiting at that point.
Right.
Went on to September. I made about $1,000 profit. Did almost 11,000 in revenue. October was a little bit better, almost 19,000 in revenue, and net profit of 2,800. And so this month, I am excited to say I'm already at a solid about 15,000 in revenue, and my net profit is around 2,300. So
Oh,
each month, month over
yeah.
month, my ROI and my margin has just gotten better
Improved.
and better. And
Yeah.
each month, I've also taken the necessary precautions to focus on better product, right? So,
Yes.
like my first month in August, so one thing that I felt like was kind of a mistake that I did at the start is I found a website, and it was a retailer that there's one like 15 minutes from me. And so I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I can source their catalog, I can find profitable stuff. I can order it for in-store pickup, maybe, send some to FBA the same day. So I went to this website, manually sourced for like 8 hours my first night. I found quite a few products, maybe 10, 20 products. And I was pretty excited because all the ROI on them are like 20, 30%. And to me, all these other endeavors I've tried, making 20, 30% in a month or whatever is kind of unheard of. And so, I bought them all up, and one of the ASINs I went very deep in, and I didn't, because it was on sale and I wasn't sure how long it'd be on sale. And, so the first month I was learning a lot of lessons, and I wouldn't go back and do it differently, even if I could, to make more money. I think those lessons I learned were really valuable because I didn't make them again, and moving forward, I changed the way I sourced to find products from manual sourcing to, because manual sourcing, I didn't look at any storefronts. I just straight up found products that I thought were good. I've searched them on Amazon. If they were worth double or close to double or more, I pulled the trigger and just kind of gave them a test.
Pardon the interruption. We'll get back to the show in just a moment, but I've got to tell you about the sponsor that we have today, Humminbird, Humbird, humminbird.com. There's a link in the show notes. They provide services for all your trademarks, corporate setup, branding, marketing, and tax advising as well as we enter that time of the year where taxes are on the mind of especially those of us here in the United States. How do you most efficiently handle the challenges of making sure you get all of your deductions, taking care of all your tax concerns, making sure you do it right without paying too much as an e-commerce seller, as an Amazon business building warrior? They've got some incredible services that you should go check out at humminbird.com. That's spelled HUMNBIRD.com. Let's get back to the program.
And moving forward, I changed the way I sourced to find products from manual sourcing to, because manual sourcing, I didn't look at any storefronts. I just straight up found products that I thought were good. I've searched them on Amazon. If they were worth double or close to double or more, I pulled the trigger and just kind of gave them a test. And I wasn't really researching all the Keepa data and
Yeah.
the BSR and the different sales data and the offer count. Like, I'm looking at all those things now because those pieces of information are very, very crucial when you figure out if you're going to buy that ASIN to test it or not. because you can essentially disqualify a test-worthy ASIN without even buying it. And I
Mhm.
didn't know that. I didn't have all those tools at my disposal at the first month. So each month I've gotten better. I have lofty goals. I want to keep my margin around, ideally around 15 to 20%, and ROI. I'd like to target like a 30 to 40% ROI. And that's kind of like my minimum at this point. And different times of the year, like the next couple weeks are pretty big in this business. So and big meaning you can find a lot more opportunity with a lot more upside. And so with different times a year, I've been tweaking, my criteria for a qualified buy, So instead of going for 30, 40% ROI with a 15, 20 margin, the next couple weeks I'll probably be turning that dial up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm really, really happy with my numbers. If you would have told me, you know, 3 months ago that I would have made $2,300 in the first 2 weeks in November, I would have said,
Yeah,
no, there's no
yeah,
way in heck that's going to happen that
yeah,
quick.
yeah.
There's no way.
'Cause
But
we're
if
only
you,
halfway through the month. I mean, your trajectory
yeah,
was $10,000 your first full month, almost 20 your second full. You're on pace to do 30,000 your third full month, uh,
and
with about $5,000 net profit to show for it.
yeah,
That's a
this
pretty rapid ascent into this business, man.
I'm trying to I wanna take this thing by the horns because it's an opportunity like this, you can't just let it sit, and it's not gonna things aren't gonna happen on its own.
Mhm.
You are your own business owner. You're your own when you're starting, you're everything. You're the owner, you're the operator, you're the prepper, you're the packer, you're doing all the accounting, you're doing, taxes. I just got my tax forms today. I got to look into those. So you're playing all the hats, there's a lot of things that you have to do, and remaining consistent has been a real big thing for me. And a lot of that just comes from knowing the opportunity at hand. Like I don't want let this opportunity pass without taking full advantage of what's here, cuz I hope everyone listening knows this Amazon business, the opportunity we have here, it's unlike anything else in business. I haven't seen anything like it,
I
and
haven't either. I
I'm
mean, with
super
22 years,
excited.
22 years, and I see and hear about a lot of different business opportunities and
Yeah,
things
I'm
that I could
sure.
be involved with. And there's a lot
Yeah.
of really great creative entrepreneurs in our community. They're always pitching different ideas and things.
Mhm.
There's nothing like this, especially if someone's never had success in business. There's
Yeah,
nothing like this. But the success you have here and the relationships you build along the way do lead
exactly.
to multiple other opportunities. That's
Yep.
part of the beauty of the Amazon Replens model, and that foundation you learn is you're going to get very soon. You're going to be exposed to, some of these brands, some of these distributors, some of these folks that you're buying products from. That's going to lead to relationships and conversations and opportunities, branded bundles, unique, where you become an exclusive seller maybe for someone's product, help them launch their own product on Amazon,
Yeah.
get paid, launch your
Yep.
own product, your own brand, right? So there's so many opportunities that tack onto this. And the fact that the future of e-commerce and specifically Amazon,
Mhm.
all the trajectories are just they're going to be dominant
Yeah.
for the projected future. They're already about half the transactions online every day in the United States.
Which is insane.
That's
Oh my
insane,
gosh.
right? I mean, you add up eBay, Walmart, all these other top 10 stores, and they add up to almost what Amazon is. It's crazy how big this is, projected to get even bigger, and they're pouring all kinds of
Yeah.
money into the opportunity. They need high character, high quality sellers to help them fill the shelves. That's the opportunity.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
and it's a very simple business. It's not easy because it's work to build a business,
Right.
but
Yeah.
man, it's
It's
simple to
hard.
explain. But there are some moving parts, and the game's always changing slightly. But the model that you're playing with right now, that is the introduction, and you're just another proof of hundreds of people we've interviewed that, like, hey, if you put in some focused effort, you can do some significant stuff pretty quick. I know some people are going to
Yeah.
want to know how much money have you put into this. You mentioned a few $100s to start. What pool of funds have you put into this? Because
Yeah.
now you've got an asset sitting there that is all your unsold inventory, right?
Yeah.
And let's assume that all sold like for the worst possible price. That's money coming back to you. So sometimes people forget about that. It's like, oh no, Jim, I put 30,000 into this and I've only gotten 12 back in the first 2 months. I'm like, well,
how
How
much you
much
got in your
inventory sitting out
storefront.
there? Oh,
Yeah.
well, I got $28,000 of inventory sitting out there if it sells for what I think it will. Okay, so you're doing great,
Yeah.
right?
So
So break it down for us a little bit.
it's a great question. So when I started, I didn't, I'm not someone to go out off on a whim and put a lot of money into something I don't know for sure is going to pan out. I'm
Mhm.
not a
Conservative.
full send type of individual. With this business, I started out very slow. I only put, like you said, a few $100. I bought some, fairly cheap ASINs, but that was because I was looking for proof of concept. I wanted to make sure that as a new seller, I could get buy box. As a new seller, I could get those sales. I could make the money, get my inventory sold in the typical 30 to 60-day target time frame. And I wanted to make sure all these things rang true before I actually put, more of my hard-earned money into the business. And so now that I have the proof of concept, I'm not I'm not afraid to put any of my money I'll kind of put into the business because I know the product I'm buying. I've tested it. It's sold. I've profited. I've already gotten the proof of concept there. And so to answer your question, a few $100 to start. I think I started the business. I think I spent 500 or $800 actually getting the business started. You have to get the packing paper and the tape and the
Supplies.
printer and all the
Sure.
all the actual hands-on supplies. I mean, unless you're going prep center off the start, but I don't think very many people do that.
I don't think they should. Yeah.
No, me either. I think it's very important to
Unless they
learn the
have to.
aspect of packing.
International
Yeah.
students have to. And
Right.
actually, a guy
Yeah.
like you, I'd encourage you to investigate some local opportunities. Like, I
Yeah.
always say the sweet old lady across the street, which is actually the exact scenario a lot of people have used is, the widow across the street with a huge garage and a big house and nothing to do with but nothing but time on her hands. She
Yeah.
would love to have that interaction. And now that what I can't remember what couple was that they I actually met him at our conference. It was a sweet lady who lived by herself across the street from a guy who was using her garage. The neighborhood kids were the team. They'd come over
Yeah.
after school and pack and prep, right? And
That's
they're happy
cool.
to do it. She always had snacks. It
Mhm.
just it's just kind of became this community involved project
Right.
that everybody was benefiting from, and the
Yeah.
relationships that sprung out of that, right? Like the memories these kids now have, and like this empty, quiet house is now alive with activity, right? I just love the thought of
Yeah.
what this business can do for a few neighbors, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't have
I
to be
haven't
some strangers in
even
a prep center.
That's cool you mentioned that. I never even thought about doing something like that because I'm getting to the point where I do have to start thinking about other options. It's funny
Yeah,
we're having this conversation because all these boxes behind me, I just got these
right,
from my mailroom upstairs, and I live in an apartment.
right,
And the management is wonderful. It's family owned, and so it's
yeah,
not a big management that's going to be strict on all the rules. And they've been working with me thus far.
right.
But my FBM shipment that went out this Monday was a little absurd, and
It
it
was
got it
big.
got too much for the USPS people, and
Yeah,
they got a
yeah.
couple complaints from tenants in the building about the
Mhm.
stack of packages in the mailroom.
Yeah, can't get around
And
the
so
mailroom.
then
Yeah,
she sent me an email. I was finishing up my workday and getting ready for this podcast, and I checked my phone, and she sent me an email like, "Yikes, come get your packages." And I didn't realize that a lot of my orders were coming on the same day. I thought they were going to be a little bit more
spread out.
stagnated.
Hmm.
But yeah, so all of this showed up in our tiny, probably 10 by 14 mailroom,
Right.
and so it's getting to the point where I'm outgrowing, you
Yes.
know, my pants, so to speak. I
Yeah.
need to get a new pair. And
Yeah.
I know it's got to happen for sure by the new year. I'm trying to kind of delay it until then because I want to kind of struggle through this first Q4 alone and really work in the trenches, learn the different FBM ins and outs, and just do it myself this first
Yeah.
Q4 and grind it out.
But now's the
And then
time to spread the word. I would just encourage you.
yeah.
Your local
Yeah, no,
network, friends, does anyone have some
definitely.
extra space? They wouldn't mind
Yeah.
a little extra money.
Yep.
You'll find people that, yeah, they rented way too much warehouse space. Yeah, you can have a 20 by 10 section of it. We'll put up a little fence for you, man. It's yours. send a couple kids to do the work, man, a couple buddies, whatever. And
Yeah.
supplies all stay there. You get your apartment back, right?
So it's a coincidence you say that. One of my close knit buddies in my group that we pretty much jump in every day or every other day and talk Amazon and shoot ideas back and forth. He has a friend who's younger. I mean, probably 22, and he did a private label and succeeded, and now he's doing just Amazon on his own. And the buddy in my Discord said that his friend, who's doing all this, just bought a warehouse with 1,000 square feet and is only using half of it. So, I already have like some workings
Yep.
going with maybe some of that. Or I've debated on asking the people I helped out initially doing groceries. They have a pretty decent sized warehouse, and I could always ask them. And I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna kind of put feelers out and figure that out. And I
Yep.
think that's important with everything in this business, is to start taking steps for your progression early on. Like,
Yes.
don't if you're planning on, let's say you're planning on hiring a VA, or you're planning on going to prep center, or you're planning on doing these things to automate your business and push it forward. Don't just say like, "Hey, I'm going to have a prep center by January 1st," and then do nothing until then to like actually make it happen.
Right.
You got to put plays in motion and then take small steps, to make it happen by that certain time frame you want it done. And I
And
think that's important with anything in this business,
a
is
thought I'd
just to
like to put in
set
your
it up.
head. There's a book. I think the title of it is Who. I think. Man, I wish I could bring it to mind more clearly than I am now. But basically the premise of the book is the solution to every challenge you're going to face in business, especially, this is true, is a person. So when you say start the process early, start putting out feelers, right? Like that, I did that here locally when we were thinking about maybe needing more space. Just called a couple business owner friends and I'm like, hey, who,
Yeah.
who in the area might know who has some space? Well, it took them 2 or 3 days to get back to me. And then the guy they've put me in touch with took him a couple days. And then a week later, he's sending me some ideas. And right, this stuff takes time to develop. And you thank
Hmm.
everybody involved. And hey, appreciate it. If you ever need anything from me, let me know. And but now
Right.
you're getting options. You're kind of stacking this project is kind of this room of this decision is kind of filling up with different elements like, oh, okay, this is bad, this is good. Oh, Jim mentioned something on a podcast. I might want to consider using a local neighbor instead of jumping right to a prep center in another state, right? So
Right.
you just kind of start filling up the room with these options and letting your subconscious almost just kind of process it over a
Yeah.
few weeks or a few months. And now you've got this collection of good ideas mixed in with contacts and people that you can call. And
Right.
what I really like to do at that point is just bounce it off of somebody who's more experienced than I am. Okay, here's all the moving parts. What do you think? And that's where the value of a coach or a mentor really comes in. It's
Right.
not if you go to your coach and like, hey, what should I do? I need to know today. I'm just investigating this. Like you haven't really done your homework yet. You don't know all the moving parts and factors. You don't have momentum in that direction yet.
Hmm.
You could just be bouncing around from random thing to random thing. But if you
Right.
kind of fill that room with those little different elements of that decision over time and revisit it from time to time, this is why journaling is so important. Or
Yeah.
I have my decision board over here, and it's this complex system of like magnets with notes pinned on top of each other. So each project may have five or six notes pinned to it, when I comes time for that one, I got it all right there. And it's
Yeah.
visually right there kind of in my face. I like that. But whatever system works for you, but make these decisions slowly and kind of accumulate
Yeah.
information, knowing that the right person is probably the key that you're missing if you don't have clarity yet on
Right.
any decision.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to actually tell a story because I think this will serve you well and maybe someone else too that I haven't told
Oh,
it.
definitely.
It's
I'd
been
love
it's
to
been
hear it.
4 or 5. It's probably been closer to 6, 8 months since I heard from this gentleman. But this has been a guy in his early 30s making a pretty big career decision. He was either going to go
Okay.
direction A or direction B, right? And,
Yeah.
and significant opportunity in both directions. A
Mhm.
lot of moving parts. A lot of uh, positives and negatives, pluses and minuses. He's just trying to process. Like Jim, I just want to bounce it off of you and see if you add anything to this
Right.
conversation that could possibly bring me clarity.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was having this conversation with him a couple years ago, and I heard from him about 8 months ago after he'd made the decision. But
Okay.
the piece I added to the thought process was this: after I heard him kind of go through some of the money and the equipment and the moving his family and all these different elements, I said, which one of them takes you further into relationships that you really feel like, in this case, as a Christian, that God's calling you to? Like, who are the people that you'll be working with in scenario A? And who are the people and how proven and time tested and reliable are these mentors to you? Are these relationships that it would hurt to lose if you went one direction instead of the other? Have you thought about it from that angle? And as soon as I said that, he said, man, that completely makes the decision for me. Thanks. And we ended the call. I heard from him about a year later, which is about 8 months ago. And he
Yeah.
said, thank you so much. I mean, that was so clearly, obviously, the right way to go. And it's worked out brilliantly for me.
Yeah.
He's so glad he didn't go the other direction because it was kind of untested relationships and hadn't really built up the camaraderie with that direction yet. Because it's kind of like find your people, find your purpose was the lesson. So,
Yeah.
who is it you want to go with? Okay, let's stick with those people and pursue opportunities with them nearby. And I
Right.
love that this community has become that, not only for myself, but for, I would venture to say, thousands of people have benefited from those kinds of relationships. So as you're processing these decisions, yes, run it past your trusted team of advisors, but also include those people that you want to do life and business with in on the decision, work with them, partner with them. This company you were working for, that sounds like a great idea. It's like, hey, do you guys have an extra, 100 square foot, 10 by 10 cage you could stick me in the corner somewhere and I'll help you guys pay rent? Sure, come on in. Now they're helping you with your business. You loan them supplies when they run out, they loan you supplies. There's this
Yeah.
synergy effect, right? Now you're doing a big deal together because you're there on site.
Right.
So I love seeing those kind of organic relationships develop. But
Yeah.
it's about the people, though, man. It really is. Business was invented for people, not the other way around. Friendships are not some kind of
100%.
fun little bonus that comes
No.
with business. They're the whole purpose behind it.
It's a very, very key component.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the purpose, like you said.
And
Um,
in the Hebrew language, the word for transaction is the beginning of a mutually beneficial lifelong relationship. That's what a transaction is. That's the definition of it. The
yeah,
starting point of a mutually beneficial lifelong relationship. How cool is that?
that's awesome. I actually didn't know that. That's a really cool how Hebrew means that. That's insane. I didn't even know that.
Oh, there's so
It's
many great
crazy.
lessons in there. You don't want to get me started, trust me, but I would even I'll weave them through a lot of our conversations on this show.
Yeah.
Well, talk me through how you find your good inventory specifically. Like, you mentioned you've used Keepa. Like, what are you looking for specifically? What gets you excited? Are you looking for a big price differential between what you can pay and what it's likely to sell for? Are you doing some
Yeah.
experimenting with selling higher than the buy
So
box, or what are you doing?
yeah, that's a great question. So, since only being in a few months, I'm still kind of testing different things. I have a repricer that kind of helps me out repricing. But as far as like finding the actual product itself, it's kind of an array of methods. Sometimes I'll just go on Google and search up, sales on this, or I might just search up different cheap because it's kind of one of two things that I'm looking for, right? In my business, it's like I'm either looking, like you said, for a really good price on something that I know I can sell for a lot higher to make a good amount of money on, but I'm not going to be able to go back and buy those again at that same price
Right.
all year round,
Right.
right? So there's those products which have been highly, highly beneficial and
Sure.
rewarding, but you can't go back and restock them. So it's not, that isn't something you can count on to be in your business forever. So
Mhm.
it's a nice little extra, change in the pocket, but you can't really go back
Mhm.
until maybe the next year when that same sale is going on or whatever it might
It's
be.
harder to build a system that way too, where you're constantly
Right.
chasing sales and
Yeah.
discounts and closeouts.
So
Mhm.
so it's kind of I have a couple different ways of looking for products and usually it's just like, okay, what do I want to look for here? Like obviously for the next couple weeks it's a lot of get the best price, best sale, for the highest sell price and make the best margin, and make out with a ton of money in Q4, FBM into people buying for the holidays. That's kind of my method for the next like month and a half moving forward. But behind the scenes, I've been slowly trying to build up my book of replenishable products that I'm buying at retail price
Right.
from either in store or online, and I can go back and buy that product again and
Mhm.
again and again. And it's a slow process because you don't want to just look at the chart and say, oh, this is a replen and buy a full month or two of supply.
Right.
You want to do the research, And if you're thinking, okay, based on my research, I'm thinking I sell 40 of these a month. So I'm going to buy five, and then we'll see how the velocity goes. If I sell five, in the matter of 3 or 4 days, well, then my calculations are kind of pretty spot on. But if I sell the five in 3 weeks, well, then I might buy another 10, maybe 8 to 10 and restock it if it's worth my time and prepping it. And that's a whole nother piece to it too, because I bought product that is profitable, and sometimes it's 100% ROI. I might buy a glass jar for, $4 and sell on Amazon for 18, and I might make well over 100% of my money. But you got to take into consideration the time it takes to get the product. If you got to buy it in store, then you got to go and get it, and you might only be able to get so many. So then you got to take into consideration the time and money you're spending to go get it, bring it back. It's glass, you gotta bubble wrap it, you gotta buy bubble wrap, and then you gotta poly bag it out. So, like, there's a lot of things that you have to consider outside of just like, oh, 100% ROI. That's awesome, but it still might not be worth your time. So that's a big thing that I've been focusing on lately, is just focusing on those products that I don't mind packing, I don't mind prepping. They still reward me with a decent ROI, because I've had the products where, for example, this past holiday season with, this time of year in the fall, the pumpkin spice stuff is
Sure.
big, and
The seasonal stuff. Then it'll be
yeah,
Valentine's, then it'll be Easter. Yeah,
right. And
yeah,
so me being the crafty seller I am, and I'm new in the game, I'm thinking, oh well, this season's coming around the corner. Businesses haven't bought their pumpkin spice syrups and stuff to put in their coffee drinks. And so here I bought like 25 of these, and I tested five, and then they did well. And then I bought 25. And after I did the 25 and I sold through them, I kind of went back and assessed the whole play that I did. And I made money, right? I made like almost 100% on my money. I bought each bottle for $5 or $6. I made $5 or $6 a unit, but two of them, or I think, no, it was four of them broke because they were big glass bottles and bulky glass, not like some, plastic bottle. Is like thick glass where if you dropped it even from 3 feet with a few wraps of bubble wrap, it's probably going to not do so well. And so after assessing that, like, yeah, I made 100% on my money. I spent, $125, $150, and I made about that much back in my pocket. But I spent a couple hours packing the things and bubble wrapping them. I lost four to being completely shattered when they were going to the customer. And so, like, looking back on it, to me that wasn't worth my time,
right.
because, with all things considered, yeah, maybe it was making, at the end of all of it, all my time and effort put in, let's say, $40 an hour. And that would be probably at best, assessing, spending the time researching to get the product, waiting for it to be shipped. All things considered, it really wasn't worth the investment. Even though on paper, if you looked at my seller board and went to that product, you'd say, "Oh, you made over 100%
Right.
ROI on this deal. That's a great one. Why didn't you replenish it?"
Yeah. I
Well,
think
that's why.
as a new
Yeah.
seller, you're really excited about just about anything that
Yeah.
turns a
Right.
profit, and you're willing to work a little harder and take a little more risk and spend a little more time packaging and prepping. As your
Exactly.
catalog grows, though, these are just easy math decisions, and you're constantly
Yeah.
eliminating the bottom 20% of the ASINs of the biggest pain to prep and the thinnest margins, and you're focusing and doubling down on that top 20% of your catalog, making sure you keep all those in stock and try to
Yep.
find more of those. While that middle, 60% of your business kind of floats. It's profitable, it's fun. I'm not super emotionally tied to any of it though, right? So
Right.
it's this constant game, where we've got hundreds and hundreds of ASINs at any given time, adding several every day, cutting off a few. Some of them are dying for whatever reason. It's
Yep.
just this churn now. So if that ASIN was in my catalog, I might hang on to it. It's just a numbers decision. It's a math decision. It's pure math, right?
Yeah.
If it's profitable, yeah, we're going to hang on to it, right? There's no reason not to.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but we're always eliminating the ones that are kind of slowing us down, so that's just the churn. You don't get emotionally involved with anything. And
No,
it sounds
right.
like you're already well on your way. Like I love how you kind of process things from a number vantage point. Like even very few sellers do this. And you've developed this instinct from somewhere, Elijah, where dollars per hour. Yeah. That's a great way to do it. Because if you can track it down to true dollars per hour, now we've got a true apples to apples comparison. We can compare product A to product B.
Yeah,
How much net profit after all expenses am I making for every hour I put into this product? And if you can
exactly.
rank your products in that order and know which ones you should really be focused on, and quite often when you go through that exercise, you'll be surprised and which ones rank high. And you mentioned
Right.
Seller Board earlier.
Yeah.
silentjimdotcom/numbers is our discount offer on Seller Board, a tool that we
Oh,
love.
awesome.
It really helps you dial in on knowing which ASINs are performing and which ones aren't. They really do a great job
Oh,
of
it's
breaking it down.
black and white. It's
Mhm,
crazy. I didn't have Seller Board for my first pretty much almost 2 full months. It was like month and a half, 2 months,
mhm.
and here I am. So I bought a lot of my initial product and, I was super excited, manual sourced the one storefront. I ended up buying a couple dozen different ASINs from the one storefront manual sourcing, and I'm thinking I got easy 30-40% ROI across the board, like,
Right.
no problem.
Yeah.
Get Seller Board, input all my cost of goods, refresh, go to the main page, and I'm like, "What?"
You're surprised.
I didn't know, like, because that was probably when about September timeframe, and my ROI was only 18% that month, and I was thinking it was almost double,
Mhm.
so Seller Board directly opened my eyes to those ASINs,
Yeah.
and if I wouldn't have gotten Seller Board, I wouldn't have taken out the bottom, like you
Yeah.
mentioned, the 2080. I
Mhm.
wouldn't have taken off my bottom 80, and I would have kept spending money on product only making me
Yeah.
5, 10,
Spinning your
20%
wheels.
ROI. Right.
Yep. Yep.
Whereas I was able to weed those out and then
Mhm.
refocus my time, money, and efforts on finding new product that was actually going to be better ROI, more what I'm targeting. So it's very, if you're a new seller and you're in your first couple months of business and you don't have Seller Board and you're not tracking your numbers, you need to, because if you're not, you're going to spend the next 2, 3 months buying product that hasn't even been making you money and you're
Yeah.
not even going to know it. It's
Well,
crazy.
you're gonna go on instinct, and the ones that are selling fast, you're gonna think are your best ones.
Yeah.
And
And
you
maybe
could
they
be
might be losing you money.
yeah,
And then if you're
yeah.
selling them fast, you're
You
losing
could
money
be
fast.
you could be turning, $5 bills into $1 bills, but doing it fast, thinking you're going somewhere, right? You need to know your numbers.
You
Rule
got to
number
know
1
your
of business.
numbers. Yep.
Gotta know. The more you know, the better you can parse them down, the better, especially if you're gonna do this model.
Yeah.
Because you can't be getting super excited, emotionally attached to the stuff that's losing you money or breaking even as you're spinning your wheels. Uh,
Definitely.
well, hey man, this has been a great episode. I have a feeling we could keep going, but I've actually got something I got to get on to with
Oh,
my day.
yeah. We
But
can, we
but if
can
there's
wrap
anything on
up.
your list that you wanted to be sure to hit, we got a little opportunity
Um,
here to spend
so
a couple more moments.
I just had one. Well, I have a few questions written down, but I had one I really wanted to ask you because
Yeah, let's
obviously
do it.
we've gotten the time to kind of learn more about me, my business, where
Sure.
I'm at, how
Yeah.
long I've been doing it, that sort of thing. And I know you even touched on it a little bit before, the whole, uh, you know, preach about right training, right knowledge at the right time. And with all things considered, what you know about me, my business, where I'm at, not specific, not like, oh, you need to go buy this, that, but what general advice would you give me where I'm at to really
Mhm.
put me on the right path to success in this industry?
Yeah, I'd love to answer that question because sometimes that's a harder question for me to ask and answer, and sometimes it's easier.
Yeah,
And it's easier when I talk to someone who understands the value of relationships, they understand the value of mentors and surrounding themselves with the right people.
right.
And you're on a leadership track. I don't know if you've identified that yet or not, but you are. And that's really what being a business owner is. It's a leadership journey. The
Yeah,
ceiling is your leadership ability. And you're the kind
right.
of guy that's humble enough and open enough to learn and willing to surround himself with people who challenge him and inspire and encourage him.
Yeah.
I think that you would benefit tremendously from having a coach on our team that you can be mentored by. That's going to
Mhm.
open up. so many different opportunities for you beyond just this. And again, I said it briefly earlier on, and our coaching program goes for it basically, the coaching is for anyone who has margin in their life. I call it relational, emotional, physical, energy wise, health,
Right.
monetary, scheduling. You got to have enough margin to go forward quickly and to take advantage of it.
Yeah,
Then
you
it's for
do.
you. You could be brand new, you could be very experienced. But someone like you who understands and recognizes the importance of a relationship like that, it's going to pay such huge dividends, because what we quite often see is not just the benefit of the knowledge you're going to obtain, but getting into that circle of people who are doing life and business with intention and
Yeah.
focus, and they've got connections. You're one phone call away from some people who can really just make some things happen at that point,
Right.
because you're in the inner core of our community. I think you're on a leadership journey where you could become a coach on our team, create content. I mean, you're an incredible success story. 10,000 month one, 20 the next, on course to do 30 in your third month at
Hey,
nice
my
margin.
December is gonna be great too.
Oh,
I have high hopes for December.
you could very well hit
It'll be
50 in December,
interesting.
right?
Oh, I would put money on the line that I will. I'm
Oh,
pretty
I'd love to
confident.
hear from you when it happens and get a screenshot, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
So with
definitely.
when I see a guy like that, you are just a couple little course corrections away from, there's some little mistakes that you might be able to avoid that would cost you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially. It's kind of like
Yeah.
if you take an airplane and you go from New York to Paris and you make a tiny 1 degree course correction halfway, you end up like 800 miles from your
Yeah.
destination, right?
Right.
So, like those little course corrections as you go, that's
Mhm.
part of the value of a mentor. I really think you need a good mentor, whether it's someone on our team or someone else that you may know who's done this big. I don't know what your relationship is with, these guys that have the $10 million business, for example, but you need those people in your life to kind of help you with these little course corrections, keep you from going off the guardrails, uh,
Right.
and help you go further faster. That
Yeah.
would be my advice to you. And build systems. Meaning you're always asking yourself, am I the only one that could be doing what I'm doing right now? I've got a system. There's, a set procedure. Here's the KPIs for
Right.
someone who's doing it well. Hand it to someone of competence, monitor their performance, but then you step away. And so you're always building systems. Am I the only one that could be doing what I'm doing right now in my business? If
Yeah.
not, put someone else in there. And it's going to take a little of your margin away, but you're always willing to sacrifice a little margin to create automated systems. And that
Mhm.
frees you up then to pursue intentionally more relationships, more business opportunities, to tack on new income streams, right? So
Right.
that'd be my general advice to you, is those two things: build systems, get the right mentor in place quickly, and continue pursuing those relationships, man, regardless of whether they're paid
Right.
or just friends, right?
Yeah,
That's going to
definitely.
take you far, man. You're on a tremendous trajectory right now.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm super excited about everything. And I can't wait to, I'd love to jump back on, maybe give it some time, let the business roll. Maybe 6, 12 months I'll pop back on and we'll
Absolutely.
chat again and
Yeah.
go through the business where it's at then. So
Yeah.
before we get off, one other thing I'm curious. Outside of the obvious of I think everyone's answer, and this is typically the people, but what's your absolute favorite thing about Amazon and like the business?
Yeah. I'll answer that maybe slightly differently than you were expecting, but it's something that I've said quite frequently before. I think we live in one of the most amazing times in human history right now, where
Yeah,
business
we
was
do.
done the same way for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And it still is.
Mhm.
Business is still serving happy customers while turning a dollar into $2.
Yeah,
That's
right.
not easy to do. That is really actually quite difficult. And his history shows us that. But what
Mhm.
the internet did, Amazon specifically, kind of leading the charge, but there's a lot of other, we're a multiple income stream community. I love eBay. I love Walmart. I sold 900 items on Walmart last month. Like, I love these different opportunities we have ahead of us.
Yeah.
But the way the internet changed the game was, now, and we're enjoying the benefit of it just in this conversation, you can take little tiny risks and try new business ideas constantly.
Right.
That was never possible. And, it started kind of coming into clarity in the mid 90s to late 90s. Like, wait a
Mhm.
second, I could launch a business newsletter by email and people could
Yeah.
pay me. I'm selling digital bits. So I could test it tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? Like that. kind of bit starting a business in the 70s and 80s and all through human history before that meant years and effort and energy and
Right.
risk and a ton of money, and it was probably going to fail ultimately. And
Mhm.
you get one or two shots in your life. That's it. And then
Exactly.
you just kind of, settle into whatever role you were kind of meant to be because business didn't work out for you. Now
Yeah.
it's like we can all be entrepreneurs in our spare time, fitting into the cracks of our life, these little interesting experiments. And so the search became for me, which of these has the lowest risk, the lowest learning curve, the highest odds of success for someone who's willing to work, who comes in new and they're
Yeah.
willing to work. And this new landscape of opportunity where the risks are low and you can try a bunch of different new things, which of them makes the most sense for uh, a virtuous person who's ready to work hard, who doesn't fall for all this shiny object garbage that's out there? Hey, push a button and make $1 million and have a car like me. Like they're not falling for that garbage. Like I have no time to
Yeah.
talk people out of that stuff. It's
Yep.
like, yeah, go chase that for a while when you figure out it's all a scam, then come back when you're ready to work, right?
Yep.
Most of them do.
Yeah.
But of the legit opportunities I see out there, there's nothing like this. There just
Yep.
isn't, which is why we teach it. If something else better comes along, we will teach that. But
Right.
this is what we do. We love it. We see the success stories. We fill up, convention hall rooms of people who are doing it and having fun with it.
Yeah.
Everyone from guys like you 3 months in to people who've been doing it 10, 12 years and they built huge teams and multiple seven-figure businesses. It's just a thrill. So when you say, what do I like about Amazon? And it's they've really tapped into this e-commerce opportunity. And
Right.
I don't know that they did it on purpose, but with this whole FBA thing,
Yeah.
they've just eliminated the risk. Like a guy in a small one-bedroom apartment can build a seven-figure business now.
Yeah,
That
it's
wasn't
crazy.
taking little risks every step of the way. At no point are you
Yep.
writing a big check for $30,000 and hoping it works out someday, right? That's the way business was always done. It's not how, it doesn't have to be that way anymore.
Right.
That's what I love about it. The risk
Yeah.
threshold has lowered. Your ability to scale as big as you want is there. So
Yeah.
I just think
Uh,
it's one of the best times in human history to be alive, to be honest with you.
right. No, I love that answer. The opportunity that we all have, because I'm pretty sure everyone listening to the podcast right now is probably either an Amazon seller right now or they're thinking about being one. And I just want to say the opportunity that you have in front of you is unlike anything else out there.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
if you want to try it, I would highly, highly suggest doing so.
Yeah,
Because I was hesitant for a while.
yeah.
I debated for, a couple months at least on doing, starting it. And one day I woke up, I'm like, you know what? 500, $800. If it goes down the toilet, then, so what? I've wasted more money than that on other stuff. So,
Mhm. And
yeah, the
even if it doesn't work
opportunity.
out, that account that you've now opened is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Actually, people sell their accounts like, I'm going to move on and do something else. That Amazon account that you've set up can be sold as a part of a business and to another third party. We've seen a bunch of these done within Amazon's policy, totally legal.
Right.
The website's silentjim.com/sell my account.
Oh,
It's
that's
worth
cool.
money. So even
That's
if you just
awesome.
kinda shut it down and move on to something else, hey, you get your money back for having set it up at some point, just because it's been around for a few months, a couple years. It's
Hmm.
ungated in several categories. It's got that, respect from Amazon at that point. Pretty cool stuff, man. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's 0 downside to this model. Yeah,
No, very,
it's
very minimal. You learn lessons. You lose maybe dollars, maybe tens, maybe hundreds, but you got to be doing something really wrong if you're losing thousands. That's for
Oh,
sure.
you do. You're taking unnecessary risks, and we want to
Yeah.
help you
Right.
correct that if that's the case. Well, hey,
Yeah.
Elijah, I
So.
got to go, man. I got plans
Yeah.
bumping up against me at this point, and you've been very generous with your time as well. I know your wife's probably home at this point, so go hang out with her and say hey, and thank her for loaning you to us for some time here. But let me speak to
Yeah.
the listeners for just a moment. Thank you for joining Elijah and I on the episode today. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. I think we could have gone another hour. This guy is awesome. Hopefully, I'll see you and your wife in Orlando. I'd love to meet you guys in person if that works out. Okay, my friend.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And thank you for your time, Jim. I know you're a busy guy and you got a lot of things going on, so I
Um,
appreciate you
this is
taking
the
the
best part
time.
of my
And
job, man. It really
yeah.
is. And I learn something every time. I feel inspired and encouraged to see, new people coming in. They're building beautiful businesses. That means we're teaching something that works, and I want to continue doing that. But hey,
Oh
God bless you,
yeah.
Elijah. To the listeners who hung out with us today, hang in there, business building warrior. We are in your corner. We're fighting for you and with you. Let us know how we can help you continue to build your business. we'll have another great episode for you again very soon. We'll talk to you then. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Before I let you go, one last reminder: humminbird.com, today's sponsor for all your trademarks, corporate setup, branding, marketing needs, and yes, tax services as an Amazon e-commerce seller. Book a schedule appointment with them today to take care of all those paperwork things that you don't want to have to mess with. They're really good at it. They'll take good care of you. Tell them I sent you. Humminbird.com, HUMNBIRD.com. Thanks for being a sponsor of this program. Hey, we'll see you next time.